Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters, here we are today and we're going to make a shutter card, and I have them made to surprise dies. These are 5x7 dies and they come in like a Ziploc bag, but this is how I store mine. I would normally have some magnetic black sheet on the back, so on both sides, but I've run out and I'm waiting for some. I've also received in the post some of the card making magic. These are Christina Griffiths papers and dies. My card was picked by Christina as one of 5 that she loved using the Papercraft Society box, and these are some of the products that I got as my gift or my win. So I won't use this, but I will be using the dies here. I'm going to use the happy birthday that's down here at the bottom. They're a lovely size. I'm also going to use some of the papers from the paper pad. So again, the last of my magnetic sheet went onto the front of that, but this is how I'll store them, and I'll put some more magnetic sheet on the back. Okay, so there we go. There's our papers and the dies we're going to use. I'm not going to use that large frame die either. I don't for a finish. I'm going to use this stamp down here. This is a happy birthday stamp, and I'm going to use that on my card as well as another Christina Griffiths stamp. So I've taken the largest die out of the die set, and this is going to die cut out our gatefold card. And this will give us a 5x7 gatefold card when the card is closed. So there's 2 score lines on this card, and I'm going to fold them over and I'm going to burnish them. And you can just use your hands to put pressure on the score line, but I'm going to use a scoring tool just to make sure I have a nice crease on those score lines. Lovely, and there we go, a gatefold card. So handy to have that die in your stash. Okay, so some of the other dies that we get are going to die cut out our mats and layers. So this one here is going to die cut out a matte layer for the 4 sides. So we're going to cut out 4 of those, 2 for the front and then 2 for the inside. And I'm going with a color palette of this pink and this lavender color. Now usually you would choose one or the other color for your matte layers in your card, but I liked both. I couldn't decide, so I went with both. So I'll probably put the lavender colors on the inside and then those pink mats on the front. Now I've cut out 4 patterned papers, and I've cut these out about 1/4 of an inch smaller. Now there's no die for these, so I just measured and cut down these panels. So like I said, I have 2 to go on the lavender, and then I'll have 2 to go on the pink, and they'll embellish the front of our card and the inside of our card. And I just love these patterned papers. I think they're so nice. So that's those done. Next we want to look at our large center panel all in here. Now I have die cut this out in the pink, and again I have used the die that came in the die set, and it cuts out a beautiful panel here, and it'll give us again 1/4 of an inch border all the way around, just like that. Now you can just have this panel here and then put your mechanism panel on top, but I again have cut out a piece of pattern paper and I've again allowed 1/4 of an inch border all the way around. So I think that's lovely, and I know you'll lose a lot of that panel with the mechanism panels that'll go over, and that's using these 2 dies. So for the large one, I'm going to take that die and I'm going to die cut out again a piece of card in the pink. Here we go. And you can see there it cuts out that lovely size panel, and I'm not giving sizes because I'm using the dies, so I think that's only the right thing to do when you're, but there are shutter tutorials on YouTube. So now we do get a second die, and that will die cut out your patterned paper panel. So I have that die cut out there, and I'm going to stick this patterned paper onto the pink panel, and then onto that I'm going to die cut out an opening, and I'm also going to stick down some happy birthday sentiments down there. So this small die out of these three will cut our opening, or our aperture. We're going to call it our aperture. And then the other two, one is a stitched die, and you can see here the stitch one cuts out these holes, and then the large circle will die cut out this whole piece. And if you add in this smaller die and put the three together, you'll get a lovely stitched frame, and I have die cut that out in the pink card. Now for a finish, I'm going to die cut out again in the lavender color card, because I think it'll pull those colors together. We need to keep the smallest die because we need to die cut through this panel so that we can see through to the panel below. And our mechanisms are going to sit behind that, and that'll then give us our shutter effect. So we'll keep that now so that we can die cut through there once I have those stuck together, and I'm going to do that in a little while. First, I want to look at this die. This die you need to cut out two pieces. These are the mechanisms, or the shutter. These are what's going to open and close and reveal our lovely sentiment. Now there's two score lines, one on each side, and we're going to put some tape on them, and we're going to fold and burnish them. Now when you're sitting these two together, I've tried to do it so that you can see one is overlapping at the top and it's underlapping on the other. So if you keep one horizontal, one vertical, meet them in the middle like this, and then lie down the other one on top. This is how your shutter mechanisms need to be for when you slide them underneath the panel that has that opening. So you can see this is how the mechanism is going to work. And Sam, who has designed these from the Made to Surprise, she recommends that's the way it's done, and it's generally the way it's done even if you're just cutting it all out by hand. Okay, so the back of the card is where we're going to have our message. So I have used the die to die cut out the large panel, then I have cut out a panel myself, 1/4 of an inch border all around, and then I've cut out this white panel, again 1/4 of an inch all around, and that's going to have a lovely little verse on there, another by Christina, and it'll give us room to write our message to the person it's going to. And there's a lovely happy birthday message here, and I'll link everything down below so that you can then go to Craftstash or have a look elsewhere for these products. So on the inside, I want to die cut out a happy birthday, and I'm going to use these dies, the happy and the birthday here, and they're a lovely size dies that you get. I think the size of this happy birthday is lovely. Now you could cut out a couple of them and layer them up. I've just cut out one layer. I'll sit them on there just like that on that panel. And I'm also going to punch out some hearts using some leftovers of the pink and lavender card. And I'm going to sprinkle the hearts around the card. Okay, so let's speed everything up. I'm going to glue all my mats and pattern papers, and we'll assemble our card. So for the gluing and things like that, I have this sped up quite a bit, but we're going to go through the whole lot. Now this is our panel that we're going to be die cutting out our small circle. And I want to make sure that I have enough glue on that so that when I die cut out this hole in the middle of it, that there isn't going to be any of the paper not stuck down. I'm going to stick down my lovely pattern paper onto my layers for the the gates. I don't know, what do you call those side panels that close and open on the front of the card? Are they gates? I think they are. If it's a gatefold card, then surely they're the gates of the card. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sticking down those 4 patterned papers onto those matte layers. And I love these soft tones in these papers that came in that Christina Griffiths paper pack. I just think they're all so lovely. So this is our layers for the back of the card. Now I'm not going to stick down my white panel just yet. I want to stamp down my sentiment. Now I can just use a block and put my sentiment on that and stick it down, but I have the MISTI, so I'm going to use that. It just means I know with this stamp it takes more than once to get a good finish on it, so that's why I'm using a stamping tool. Now, as I said, I'm using the MISTI, but you can use whatever you have. So I'm happy now with that. It needed the second stamping, and I'm going to stick this down onto my panel, and I'm going to be very careful because the ink is still wet. This Papercraft Society ink stays wet for longer, so you can use an embossing powder with it, and that way you'll have an embossed sentiment. Now I keep all my scraps, all the little sizes as well as the big ones. I keep them because I like to embellish my sentiment panel as well as my envelopes. I think it's, you know, rather than throwing them away, sure, why not? So I'm going to take this little strip here, it's about a ½ inch wide, and I'm going to cut that down to size on my little Fiskars trimmer. And then I'll stick it down again using my liquid glue. And I love using this art glitter glue. There's no glitter in it, but when it dries, it doesn't leave a tacky residue. And it dries matte, so it's very hard to see it, so that's why I like to use that. Okay, so now I'm just situating my die on there so I could die cut it out, and then I'll be able to put my foam behind that. Now this panel I'm sticking down, but if you want to stamp a sentiment that you see when you use the opening, you need to put your sentiment on that before you stick it to your card, because it's going to be hard unless you have a big stamping platform, which I do. I have the Tim Holtz stamping platform, so I wasn't too worried about stamping my image. Now I've got my mechanism panel there, and I've drawn a circle around the opening because I want a good idea of where I want to stamp my sentiment. Again, I'm using one of Christina's lovely verses. This fills the circle on the left and right side. I think I could have gone with something a little bit smaller, but this is the sentiment I wanted to use. So you can see here on this travel platform, it doesn't have a built-up area on the left or on the right and the bottom. So it allows me to put my whole card in there and then stamp down the sentiment. Now again, I'm going for a double stamping, so that's why I'm using a stamping platform. But like I said, you could stamp your sentiment on there before you then put that panel into the card. So now I'm going to put the lovely panels on the gates of our card. So I'm going to go with the lavender on the inside because our large panel there is in pink. And then for the outside, I'll put the pink panels. And I think this card without the shutter mechanism, just done with these papers and the panels, are just lovely. I think the colors are so sweet. They're a real soft spring kind of watercolor look to these patterned papers, and I think they'll be a favorite in my stash. I think they'll be papers that I will reach for when I want a feminine kind of a look to a card. They're just lovely. Okay, so now we're putting our 2 panels on the front. And again, I'm using the liquid glue, so it gives me a bit of wiggle room because I needed it here. I put it down a bit crooked, but I was saved because I had the wiggle room. Okay, so now we're putting down our center panel. I'm going to glue down my frame first to the opening. And I loved the pink, but I thought, you know what? I should really have die cut this out in purple. It would have matched the purple panels on the gates. So off I went, die cut out another one, and I'm going to stick that down onto the card. Now the stitched openings are all the same size except for one. One is a little bit larger, so I have matched that up on the purple one to the pink one, and that way I know that frame is going to sit down there perfectly. So our panel now needs a little bit of foam tape behind it, and I have these thin strips that I got from Amazon, and again I'll link them below. And Sam, who has designed these, recommends, well, she's designed the shutter die, she recommends that you put just your foam tape at the top and the bottom, but I like to add an extra 2 pieces, and that's just to make sure I don't have any sagging, and it'll keep everything nice and level. So I'll take off the release paper on the top of the foam tape and then center that perfectly and then press it down. Doesn't that look lovely? Even as it is, I mean, now it's still perfect. So here we go with the actual shutter mechanism. I'm going to put a strip of double-sided tape in this tab side here. Now there are score lines. Please fold and burnish these score lines before you put them together. I did not do that, and I'm going to leave in what happens when you forget, because I could have edited it out and it would have looked like I had done a perfect job, but I'm leaving it in for you to see. So I have centered where the aperture opens in the very middle. I have centered that in my round frame. I'm now going to take off the release paper on the tape on the right hand side and again on the left hand side. And when I open it, I'm saying, oh my gosh, this isn't opening properly. What did I do wrong? I forgot to fold and burnish those score lines. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in so you can see here. I gently encourage the shutter open, and as I do, I'm pressing down on the score line, and I'm just using my bone folder there, and I'm pushing down on that, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I've used a double-sided tape, but luckily it didn't tear the paper, and I'm just adding pressure to get it to fold over again on that score line. And once you've done that, you can see it opens perfect. Now you'd have never known that happened to me if I had edited it out, but I figured I'd leave it in and let you see that it can be, you can save it, no problem. Okay, so now we're moving on to the back, and I have my panels here all ready to go. I'll add my liquid glue, center that down on the back, and that's lovely, just lovely. Adding a little pressure to make sure it sticks nicely. Now I've used some of those round dies, and I've used a punch, and I've punched out the purple one, I've die cut out the pink one, and then our stitched focal point there. I think that's lovely. We have our 2 pieces that we've die cut out. I have folded and burnished these little tabs, and I'm going to glue these down, one at either end, and this is going to give us our belly band. So this will slide up and down over our closed card. I have hand cut out these 2 lilac panels, and again I have a 1/4 inch border all around, and then I'm going to take my focal point and I'm going to stick that down onto one side. I'll put a little mark there on the back so I have an idea of where I need my glue, and then I'll pop that down onto the belly band, and I'll center that and rub out my little pencil mark there at the back. And once that's stuck down securely onto my belly band, I'm going to embellish it. I've taken one of my tiny heart punches and I've used some of the scraps to punch out little hearts. So I'll add some pinks to this one, and that'll pull the pink colors together. And then I'm going to use some of the pinks and the lilacs on the inside. So that fits perfectly over the card. Now I'm going to stick down my happy birthday, and like I said earlier, you could die cut out a couple of these and stick them one on top of the other, and it would give you a layered or a chipboard effect. But I have just die cut the happy and the birthday out once in the pink card. Again, I could have done it in the lilac colour, but for a finish, I was happy with the pinks. So I went with that. Lovely. And they're a really nice size happy birthday. So around that, I'm going to add some of the hearts, and once they're stuck down, I'm going to add some of my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen to give them a little sparkle, and I'll do that on the belly band as well. So if you've watched to this point, I would like to say thank you to all of those people who have subscribed to my channel. I have reached 1,000 subscribers, and because of that, I'm going to do a little giveaway. The directions are on the screen now of how to enter the giveaway, and I hope you'll pop over to my Instagram page using the link that's below in the description. And all the information will be on that Instagram post for you to follow. And I look forward to naming those that have won on the 14th of May. Everyone that enters will go into the draw, and you can enter as many times as you like. And don't forget to share it so that your friends can go into the draw as well. So that's it for this card. I hope you've enjoyed it, and maybe it'll inspire you to make a shutter card. I totally love these dies. I think they're fab. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you've liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. And I would encourage you to click on the bell icon down below and subscribe to my channel, because apparently 52% of my viewers are not subscribed, and it costs you nothing to just click on the bell icon down below to subscribe to my channel. So here's the lovely card we've made together with the belly band and the shutter opening. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe and bye for now.